right, Max got another one to review, and whoever else might be reading this. This is the book Illegal. Um, Really interesting one. It's by a couple guys, Eoin Colfer, and they show in here that you pronounce this guy's name Eoin, Andrew Donkin, and Giovanni Rigano. Apologies. But these three people, and illustrated by the latter in that list, made the book Illegal. This is a really good story about Ebo, who I'll show. Rhyming accidentally here. Let me find. So this primarily has. It's a story of two brothers trying to find a better life and also trying to find their sister, who they believe has escaped from some very hard living in Egypt, and or sorry, not in Egypt, in Africa, and has gone to Europe. You can see here, there's Ebo over here and his brother Kwame. They are trying to find their sister Cece and make this big journey basically across northern Africa through the Sahara and eventually cross the sea into Italy to basically be accepted as refugees. It's a very timely story. Obviously, immigration is a challenge globally, and I think we should have a massive amount of empathy for people willing to make this trek. And that's really, I think, what this book does so well is it puts the plight of people willing to make this journey, which can often cost them their lives, in very stark terms. So it's not based off of, this is like historical fiction. It's based off of, it's a fictional character, but it's based off of the exact types of stories that many, many people go through. I'll run through my scores, but and I realized I drew this on a torn piece of paper. But okay, so for so for characters, overall I gave this a 6. I already showed a photo of Ebo and his brother Kwame. I'll try to find another good one, which I think I literally missed the tab I was looking for. So, yeah, here we go. So a big chunk, without spoiling, because you see in the very beginning of the story that they eventually find each other, but a fun part of the middle of the story is, which has some relief, is just Ebo finding his older brother, who has left home in search of the sister Cece, and their brotherly bond is really the principal character, the principal relationship in the story. Also, their relationship with some of the other people that they're making this journey with eventually across the sea. Ebo can sing incredibly well. He seems like a charming, nice, but also tough at times kid. I can't give it a super high score, mainly because we get some flashbacks, basically. Like the story really kicks off, and I'll show this again. The story really kicks off with, again, the brothers already on a boat. They're starting to make this journey. They're talking about not trusting the people that sold them this raft to get across the Mediterranean. And we get these other flashbacks back to Ebo when he's back in his village, deciding what to do now that he can't find his brother, and he's fearing that his brother's left. But I guess the knock against the characters is that you really, I think, empathize with them a lot as brothers, but you don't get as much backstory and maybe color to what really motivates them personally. There's bits and pieces here, but I think sort of their character arc is almost eaten up by more of the story arc itself, which I'll get to, I guess, in some of the latter scores. But to me, the character development was maybe a little bit weaker than it was. You could almost replace these two brothers with very different things, but as long as they loved each other, it would still have a lot of the same feeling, because a lot of the story itself is just the journey they're undertaking. In terms of the art, I thought this was a really strong book for the art. I gave it a 7. Again, I like color. I've talked about this before. It can get subjective. I also love, like, when, again, you get some really nice scenes of the cities they go through. This is a city in present-day Niger, I believe. And you also get some really beautiful shots of like the ocean at times when they're crossing the Mediterranean, despite it being tough. I also love how the author at times does some like really cool juxtapositions with the color. Like I love this coloring of like on one page the Sahara Desert, on the other, like, which is all, you know, orange and bright, and then dark blue oceany thing on the other side. So I think the art looks really nice, and in general, I just really liked it. There's some really nice, I think, art throughout it. I love the use of colors and light. And in terms of the history and the culture, I mean, I gave this a really high score of an 8. I think you end up, and I'll show this as well. This is a very cool map of just showing you the journey that they go across in this book. So you get to see at the end of the story the journey they go on from Ghana through Niger to the Sahara Desert, ultimately Tripoli, which is in Libya. So I think it's like Niger, Algeria, Libya, and then ultimately Italy a little bit. But it's, you know, several countries in North Africa. And I think they just do so well at the plight of an immigrant. Like, if you want a present day story just showing how brutal, how dangerous, the risks and uncertainty in this part of the world to get out of poverty, escape violence, this book really paints a very humane picture of that. At the end of the book also, as kind of like an additional story, they keep the woman anonymous, but you get an additional real life story from someone that it just feels like this could have been, you know, this is the exact type of stuff that happens in the comic too. So just adds so much reality to people making this journey, and hopefully could be something that, you know, again, just helps people understand that I think that people are not in this for the wrong reasons. They really are trying to have a better life, or they're trying to escape something very scary. And anyway, I think regardless of where you are on immigration talks, this book really provides a lot of boots on the ground perspective that probably would shift a lot of people's mindsets. So I thought it was really good. In terms of readability, I gave this a 5 overall for the main reason that I have tried to read this book in the past and I just got stuck near the beginning of it. So I felt like I couldn't give it a super high score, being that I had to re-rented this from the library to try to go through it again. I think I just kind of got stuck at the beginning, and once in a while just something doesn't quite hit you at the beginning and you fall off. I think maybe if I would have just pushed a little bit further, I would have read it faster. And then I did end up reading this almost all in one sitting, so I'm still not going to give it a super low score. And then in terms of the X factor, again, a little bit on the lower side. I think that I talked about this before. I thought a different book called Borders, which was exploring basically just a mom and her son driving back and forth between the American and Canadian border because she refused to acknowledge which country she was from. She was very resolute in saying she was from the Blackfoot Nation. I thought that was a little bit of a higher X factor just because that's in some sense such a small, tiny thing that was stretched into a whole graphic novel, which I thought was interesting. So you got all these little details of kind of the specifics of it. I've read books like this before. I think we all have, where this is like a hero's journey in some sense. Like the quest here is epic. They have to cross deserts, oceans, deal with people that kill people along the way. So this was an epic quest type book, and it lives up to that. And you see the perspective through this very fun fraternal characters, some good side characters along the way. But I don't think it did too much in terms of like stretching the medium. Same time, there were some like really beautiful ways they drew certain things, and some very like sticky scenes, I think, that couldn't give it also too low a score. But I think probably the newness part there wasn't quite as big for me. But overall, 5.8 is a very good score. So Illegal, great book. Definitely I would suggest checking it out. As graphic novels go that tackle, again, different countries and regions, immigration's obviously something that's probably going to come up again and again in various ways. But I think this book just does such good justice. And I hadn't read something about, that journey in the North African region yet. So I thought this was just really good. But anyway, hopefully this is helpful.